I need to provide some very brief context my story, so it makes sense. I go to a public university in California. It was the start of winter break, and it was a ghost town here. Just a few people were left in the dormitory. I was sitting alone in my dorm room, scrolling mindlessly through social media, when I heard a soft scratching sound. It was barely audible, like the sound of a fingernail lightly grazing a wooden surface. I paused, straining my ears to make sure I wasn't imagining it. I slowly turned around, my heart pounding in my chest. The scratching sound was getting louder and more frantic. It was coming from the window. I crossed the room and pulled back the curtain, revealing the darkness outside. The scratching sound continued, now accompanied by a low growl. My blood ran cold as I saw two glowing eyes staring back at me from the other side of the window. Before I could react, the window shattered, and a dark figure lunged at me. I screamed and stumbled backward, crashing into the dresser and knocking over a lamp. The room was plunged into darkness as the figure pinned me to the ground. I thrashed and kicked, desperately trying to free myself from its grip. But it was no use. The figure was too strong, its icy hands holding me down. I could feel its hot breath on my neck as it leaned in closer. There it was again. This time, it was slightly louder. I looked around the room, trying to locate the source of the sound. It seemed to be coming from the corner of the room, near the closet. My heart started to race as I slowly got up from my chair and made my way over to the closet. I hesitated for a moment, my hand hovering over the doorknob. What if there was something inside? Something waiting to jump out at me? Shaking off my irrational fear, I took a deep breath and opened the closet door. The scratching sound immediately stopped, and I let out a nervous laugh. There was nothing inside except for a few hanging clothes and a shoe rack. I was about to close the door and chalk it up to my imagination when I heard the scratching sound again, this time much louder. It was coming from behind me. Just when I thought all hope was lost, I heard a loud bang, and the weight on top of me disappeared. I scrambled to my feet and turned on the light, my heart still racing. The room was empty except for the shattered window and the overturned furniture. I ran to the door and flung it open, relieved to see my RA, resident assistant, standing in the hallway, a concerned look on his face. He must have heard me screaming. "What happened?" he asked, looking around the room. "I don't know," I stammered. "There was someone in here. They attacked me." My neighbor frowned and shook his head. "I didn't see anyone," he said. "But I did see something strange before I came in. There was a shadowy figure standing outside your window. It disappeared right before I got here." I felt a chill run down my spine as I realized what he was saying. The figure I had seen in my room was the same one he saw outside the window. But if that was the case, who or what had attacked me? As I tried to make sense of what had just happened, my neighbor's words echoed in my mind. "It looked like some kind of demon." The word demon hung in the air between us, sour and metallic on my tongue. My neighbor, John, shifted uncomfortably in the doorway, his fingers twitching at his sides as if he wanted to reach out but thought better of it. The fluorescent hallway light buzzed overhead, casting sharp shadows that made his face look gaunt, hollowed out. "You don't actually believe that," I said, more to convince myself than him. My voice sounded thin, frayed at the edges. John swallowed hard. "I don't know what I believe, but I saw what I saw." He hesitated, then added, "And you felt it, didn't you?" A shiver rippled through me. The memory of those hands, cold, impossibly strong, pressed into my skin like bruises already forming. The breath on my neck. The growl, low and guttural, vibrating through my bones. A gust of wind whistled through the broken window, scattering glass shards across the floor. The curtains billowed like pale, desperate hands reaching for something unseen. I hugged myself, suddenly aware of how exposed I was, standing there in the middle of the wreckage. "We should call someone," John said, pulling out his phone. "Who?" I laughed, a brittle sound. "The police?" "Hello, officer. I'd like to report a demon attack." He didn't smile. "Then what do we do?" I didn't have an answer. The room felt too small, the walls pressing in. My pulse hadn't slowed since the attack. Every shadow in the corner of my vision, slithered like something alive. Then I noticed the marks on the floor, where the thing had pinned me, dark, smudged streaks, as if something oily had been dragged across the hardwood. I crouched down, my knees popping, and ran a finger over one. It came away sticky, reeking of sulfur and something else, something decayed. "John," I whispered. He knelt beside me, his breath catching when he saw it. "What the hell is that?" Before I could answer, a sound cut through the silence, a wet, clicking noise, like something unfurling. We both froze. It was coming from the closet. The same closet I'd checked minutes ago, empty except for coats and shoes. The door stood slightly ajar now, though I could have sworn I'd shut it. John grabbed my arm, his grip too tight. "We need to go. Now." I wanted to run. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to bolt. But something held me in place. Dread, yes, but also a terrible, gnawing curiosity. What if I looked? What if I saw it? The closet door creaked open another inch. A draft seeped out, carrying the scent of damp earth and rotting meat. My stomach turned. The clicking grew louder, rhythmic, almost hungry. Then, a voice. Not a voice exactly, more like a dozen whispers layered over each other, some human, some not, all speaking in unison from the darkness inside the closet. "You called us." John let out a choked noise and yanked me backward. We stumbled into the hallway, slamming the apartment door behind us. My hands shook so badly I could barely turn the lock. "What the fuck was that?" John's voice cracked. I pressed my forehead against the door, trying to steady my breathing. The wood was ice cold against my skin. It said I called it. From the other side of the door, something heavy thudded against the wood. Once, twice. The frame shuddered. We ran, down the stairwell, past the flickering lobby lights, out into the biting night air. The street was deserted, the streetlights casting long, wavering pools of orange on the pavement. My lungs burned. I didn't stop until we were 3 blocks away, hunched behind a dumpster in an alley, gasping for breath. John doubled over, hands on his knees. "Okay," he panted. "Okay, we need to think." I wiped my mouth with the back of my hand. The taste of copper lingered. I'd bitten my tongue at some point. "Think about what? There's something in my apartment. Something that shouldn't exist." "You don't remember doing anything? Saying anything?" He looked at me sideways, like he was afraid of the answer. I shook my head, then stopped. A memory surfaced, hazy at first, then sharpening last night, half asleep, the strange dream I'd had. A voice in the dark, asking if I wanted to play a game. Me, groggy, mumbling, yes. The laughter that followed, skittering like insects across my skin. "Oh God," I whispered. John went still. "What?" I told him. His face was drained of color. "So it was you," he said softly. "You invited it in." The air between us thickened. I wanted to argue to say it was just a dream, that none of this made sense, but the marks on the floor, the voice in the closet, the thing that had breathed against my neck. A rustling noise above us. We looked up. Perched on the broken window ledge of my dorm room, its limbs bent at unnatural angles, was a shadow, not the one from the apartment. This one was smaller, hunched, but the eyes, those glowing yellow eyes, were the same. It cocked its head, bird-like. "Still want to play?" it rasped. John grabbed my hand. We ran to campus security. Weeks have passed now. Housing replaced the window. Maintenance cleaned the room. Campus security chalked it up to stress, exhaustion, imagination. The scratches were gone. The smell faded. My bruises had healed. I started to believe them, that life could go back to normal. I understand now how the darkness in us all can sometimes breathe within us. I can sleep again. But sometimes I wake up tired, like I've been walking all night, and my closet door is already open.
Don't miss out. Hit like, share, and subscribe right now.